Hey everybody, today we're going to do something a little different. We're just going to build a website using CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. And we're just going to do it all as quickly as possible and have it running and tested on our local drive. This is, when I started coding, one of the biggest challenges for me was to understand how to connect all the files. And it took me a long time to figure it all out. And so the intention of this video is to make it very explicit how to set up an HTML index file, connect a CSS file to that, and then put a JavaScript in there as well and have it run properly. There's some specific parts of JavaScript that make it a little tricky, and we're going to go through that now. So the first step is we've got a terminal window open. We've got Atom, which is my text editor. You can use whatever text editor you like. And then we just have a blank Google Chrome window. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I press LS to list the files. I'm going to change directories into the desktop because I'm going to build this on the desktop. I only have two folders. There's code and all, and then I have an American flag thing here. But what I want to do now is I'm going to make a directory, which is basically just like, it's the same thing as doing create a new folder, but I just use the terminal because it's quicker. And then we're just going to call this one website. And then I'm going to list it out. You can see the purple represents the website. Your terminal will probably look different than mine because I have a custom looking thing, but all the words will be the same. And so now that we've got a website directory, you can see the folders popped up here. We can change directories into the website. And now if we list the folders, we don't see anything because there's nothing there. And then the first thing that we want to do to create a website using HTML is we want to make what's called the index file. So we're going to go touch, which creates a file, and we're going to call it index.html. And now you'll see it didn't render anything, but if I press LS, there's an index.html file there. And so now what I want to do is open that index file in the code editor. So I'm going to go open and then press -A, which means like select application, or select the application. And so the application that I want to open it in is Atom. And then I'm going to say that now I need to put the file name. And so I'm just going to put index. I could either do index to open that, or I could press dot, and that will just open the folder. And it should open in Atom. I'm just going to reset Atom. And then I'm just going to press the up key to rerun it. Okay, great. So now the website folder's here, and then I have the index file here. Now this is some basic HTML5 stuff. I read a book called, what's it called? Head First HTML5, and that just basically taught me this. I made a bunch of websites with this, and this is all basically memorization. Okay, so this is just the basic structure of an HTML website. We want to put the title in here. So let's say for this page right here, you can see that it says new tab. The title for this one is new tab. So that's what we're setting here. So we're going to make this one a plain website using HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript. Then you just close the title tag. Okay, and then this is another one, meta. We do char set. This sets it to be to use the proper it's ASCII codes. It's like the text format. This is just one that you've memorized, I suppose. And we can do some other stuff here, but for now that's all we need. For now, the head will be where we put a lot of information that we'll use later. But for now, we just want to get something working. So we'll just put an H1 tag here, and we'll say a plain website. Okay, so that's H1 is the heading tag, right? And then we'll put in here, this is a bare bones HTML5, CSS and JavaScript website. Okay, and so now I save this. Now this is a very, very basic HTML website, and it should work. So I'm going to come back over to the terminal. I press Command S. You'll notice that the little blue dot went away that was up here. If I come back over here, what I can do now is I'm going to open -A, and I'm going to open with the application that I'm choosing Google Chrome. and then I'm going to type in index. And I'm hitting the tab key to autofill that, so I only have to get the first letter. And then so when I press enter, it should open the Google Chrome application with our website in it. Great, okay, cool. So this all matches. A plain website, here we go. A plain website using HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript. This is a bare bones HTML5 and CSS and JavaScript website. And the next step is going to be, let's link a CSS file. So if I list what's in here, we have the index file. What I want to do is make directory, and I want to change it, make a directory called CSS. And if I list that, you can see the directory popped up here. And if we go through the folder structure traditionally, we would see the CSS folders here. So again, we're just using the terminal to make all the projects. And so now what I want to do is create a style sheet in the CSS folder. I put in them together in the CSS folder because it just makes sense. So because it helps to keep organized when you have multiple CSS documents. I've changed the directories into the CSS, and now I've listed what's in there. I'm going to, and because there's nothing in there, it just showed up blank. So I'm going to touch again, and I'm going to go stylesheet.css. And now if I list that, you'll see that it says style sheet. That means I've got a new empty text document there. And if you look in the folder structure, it's there. So if I can click there and open it up on this page. Now the intention of this isn't to style the document entirely. What we're doing right now is just linking the style sheet to here. So I want to add in the style sheet something quick and easy, which will show me if it's linked up properly to the website when I render it. And so to do that, what we'll do is just change the font of all the text elements on the page. And to do that, we'll just go body, font, style, and we're going to make it sans serif. Oh, sorry, font family. Sans serif. Okay, now if I save this, I can try to refresh this page, but it didn't change. The font is still serif. And so what's going on? I haven't linked the style sheet to the index page. And so really quickly, I just want to look up how to link CSS to HTML. And then it just takes me to this page. At W3 Schools is going to be where you find a lot of this stuff. And I oftentimes, instead of actually trying to memorize it, I'll just come here and copy and paste it, because it doesn't make sense to try a bunch of times if you don't remember it exactly. And so the rel style sheet we want to keep. The href is what we want to change. And so if I go, we know that because of our file structure, the CSS, the index file is here, so it needs to go first to the CSS folder and then down to the style sheet. So what we want to do is make it /CSS/style sheet. And now if I save this, I'm hoping that it's properly linked up with our CSS page, and therefore that this text will have sans serif. And so I've saved both of these files, and I'm going to come back over to my local directory, which I opened earlier, and I'm going to refresh the page. Okay, so it didn't work. Because of why? I think it might be because I put the slash in here. So I'm going to save that, and then I'm just going to come back over here and refresh. Okay, great. I forgot the slash. And so now we have a CSS is linked up. And so now that's good news. We've got HTML, and now we have a CSS style sheet. We could do things like change the H1 and make it font size of 60px, right? So make the H1 tag giant. And so if I refresh this, you'll see it becomes very large. This, again, is just basic CSS stuff connected to there. So because we have it linked up, we're all good to go. I've just noticed an error that I made. All of this data, all of this information needs to be inside the head tag right there. So I just highlighted it, and I pressed Control Command, and I pressed the down button, and it moved it all down into the head of the document, which is where it belongs. All this information belongs here. So the next thing that we want to do is do something with JavaScript. The easiest thing to do in JavaScript is basically just insert an element. So we can write a script element. This is how you instantiate or create a situation where you can write JavaScript functions. The first step is to write window onload, because what you want to wait for the whole HTML file to render before you start doing things in JavaScript. It's kind of complex to explain exactly why, but essentially you just go like this, window.onload, and then you make that equal to a function. Just the variable name of a function. And so the next part of the JavaScript, we're just going to write the function, the initialization function. And so this is what will run once the page is finished loading. So if you think about the way it loads, it comes down, the HTML renders really, really quickly, and it renders all the way down to the bottom, and then it comes back up and it says, once this is loaded, we're going to do this JavaScript function. And so we want to make a div, and we'll call this div, we'll give it the ID of web content. And then close div. And then in here we can write if this website requires JavaScript to be displayed correctly. Okay, so what I've done here is I've created a div element which we're going to fill with information depending upon what is in our function. We, if the div ID doesn't render, if somebody visits the website with a browser that doesn't read JavaScript, they'll actually get this information. And I'm going to put it inside of a P element so that it's formatted properly. It's just a paragraph element. And if we come back over here and refresh, we'll see this website requires JavaScript. Now the reason that it's doing that right now is because we don't have anything. So the first thing we want to do is assign a variable to our div element. And we're going to call this one web content. And then we're going to make that to document.window.get element by ID web content. And then we're going to console.log the web content. Okay, so now what I'm thinking is going to happen is when we run this, we should see in the console the web content element, and that'll help me describe to you what this means, the document.window.get element by ID. So I've saved the file, and then I'm going to come back over here and press Command R to refresh the page. I'm going to go Command Control I to get to the console, and I'm going to go into the console. Okay, so it's saying that there was an error on line 11. I can look here and I see index HTML line 11. This is the web content, document.window. I see what I did wrong. Okay, so what I've done there is I just put the global variables, which are window and document, and I can look through the window one and I can see that the document is ABCD here. So this element is actually the same as this element. And what that tells me is that actually I don't even think I need window. Okay, so I'm saving that and refresh. Okay, great. So now we're rendering this div element here. And so now what we can do, that we have control of this element in a JavaScript variable, we can do things to it. So if we wanted to say web content dot inner HTML, we can make that equal to a string that just is JavaScript is functioning. Okay, so now what we're trying to do is set the inside of this div to a P element that says JavaScript is functioning. And so I press Command S over there. I'm going to close the console window, and we want to see this change to our new JavaScript is functioning application. And so I'm going to just press Command R, and we can see the JavaScript is functioning. Okay, so this is obviously a hyper simple, beginning part of a web application, but it does have functioning JavaScript, a functioning style sheet, and the HTML page is being displayed properly. The last thing that we'll want to do is link the JavaScript, because aside from a few obvious functions, you're going to want to have your JavaScript divided up within folders. So to do that, we're going to go back into our terminal. We're going to change directory to get back to the root. If we list, we should see our CSS and index files. So now we want to make make a directory of JavaScript. If I list those out, you'll see it's there now. I want to change directory into JavaScript. And then if I list that, there's nothing in there. So I want to touch blank.js. And then if I open, okay, so I made a mistake there. I want to change that. I want to, instead of calling it black.javascript, I want to make it blank.js. So I'm just using the move indicator. So if I list that now, you'll see it's blank. And so if I open blank, we have it right here. And I'm going to take the code from my script element here by pressing Command X, and I'm going to push it in to this new blank JS file. And that simplifies our code, and it makes this page look cleaner, and then we can differentiate our JavaScript code in a separate file here. But you'll notice if I refresh this page, now it won't be working. So I've broken the JavaScript. Okay, so because the JavaScript's broken, what does that mean? Well, it means because our HTML page is not linked to our JavaScript page. So the way to put JavaScript external files into your HTML files is you want to go script, and then you go source is equal to, and then we want to set the source equal to js/index blank.js. So this is very similar to an anchor link, but it's in the heading. It's in the heading tag, and so, or the head tag, not the heading tag. And so now our JavaScript should function if we refresh this page. Okay, great, JavaScript's functioning. So what do we have now? We have an HTML document, a JavaScript document, and we have a CSS document. All of them are separated into their individual files, which makes them well organized. And we're ready to actually start writing applications. So this is one of the things that I had a really big problem with, because especially of this window onload thing, I used to just write the JavaScript here and then just have no idea why I couldn't get it to operate in the function. So this is the tutorial that I wish I had earlier. Hope you guys found this useful, and let me know in the comments if there's anything that you're curious about that you would like to see a tutorial about, because I'm interested in making tutorials for people that have specific requirements. But this is one of my favorite ones. So we've got a JavaScript, CSS, HTML5 website here that we can put up on the internet. In the comment section, I will leave a link to a GitHub repository so you can download this code if you just want to start building the website without having to do all of this structure. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next lesson.